So the same thing kind of always happens when a new phone is announced. The media gets the device ahead of time, maybe a couple days, a couple weeks if we're lucky, and we get to use it while we're preparing our review. Then the date and time of the press embargo arrives, the embargo lifts, everybody posts their review at once, and it is a giant, big frenzy of activity. There's commenters going nuts and defenders and attackers, and it's just a huge explosion for about a day. And then everything disappears. I mean, sure, there's follow-up coverage and stuff as people find bugs, people have other stuff to say about the devices, they wear them in over the course of a day or so, but really, nobody ever goes back and revisits these devices after that initial blast of review to see how they feel after a couple weeks.
So let's do something about it. Let's have a look at a device after a couple of weeks after release and when it's not shiny and new anymore. I'm Jaime Rivera with Pocketnow.com. This is the iPad mini, and this is episode 13 of After the Buzz. You know, when Apple announced the iPad mini, there was a lot to love and a lot to be skeptical about. Most of us wanted a thinner and lighter iPad, and we definitely got that with the iPad mini, but we wanted a complete experience, including the Retina display, and the iPad mini was sadly not exactly what we wanted. I personally wanted a device that would be perfect for both gaming and reading books, since the larger iPad is just too big for both of these chores. And even though the gaming problem was definitely solved with the iPad mini, sadly the reading books experience wasn't. Surely it does match the iPhone 5's iconic design, with the chamfered edges and all. It's just a beautiful product altogether. But it was definitely not out there to win the 7-inch tablet race, nor does it make your experience any better if you come from a larger iPad. It's not the cheapest in the crowd, nor is it the best in pixel density. And it's really just a cheaper iPad for the masses, but not really out there to win any race when compared to anything else. On the positive side, the device feels extremely light, and it's quite sturdy. I mean, the design is just beautiful altogether. It's sadly too thick to fit in your back pocket though when compared to other 7-inch tablets, but it definitely feels much better than any other 7-inch tablet out there, or even the larger iPad for that matter. Overall, hardware is what I'd really call a mixed bag. You get a great design and a beautiful device, but it's sadly limited when compared to other tablets in the market at a much cheaper price tag, and that's mainly due to the lack of a Retina display. Now, what makes the iPad what it is really in the software department. And yes, I know, iOS 6 is not Apple's best work when it comes to an operating system, but what makes it succeed is really in the apps. The iPad has the largest and best app selection of any competing device out there, and every single title plays great on the iPad mini. Probably my biggest disappointment was trying to read magazines on this thing, since smaller text on a non-Retina display device means smaller and sometimes unreadable text in the real world. It may not be an issue for many, but if you don't have good eyesight, you should probably skip the iPad mini and stick to the Retina display iPad in case. Now, where I'd really recommend an iPad mini and where I enjoy it the most is in gaming. There are tons of both old and new titles in the App Store that play great on the iPad mini, and when you consider the fact that this device is thin and light, this is the perfect gaming machine, or at least the perfect gaming tablet. It's definitely no gaming console, we'll give you that, but once you match the fact that the complete cost of ownership of a PS Vita is much larger than an iPad mini when games go on sale, and there's definitely a compelling case to own a mini instead of a PS Vita, or probably just own two devices. When it comes to the overall user experience, I doubt any of you will ever use the camera, but it's one of the best tablet cameras out there. It takes decent photos in daylight, though a bit overexposed at times, though definitely not for night photography. And when it comes to 1080p video, it does a decent job, but again, it will never replace your camcorder. Some phone cameras do a much better job than the iPad mini. This device does support the iPhone 4's camera technology, so just remember this is 3-year-old technology in the works here. Probably one of its high points is the battery life, as with every iPad. It can last for days with moderate use, and since it charges much faster than the larger iPad, it makes the point of owning a tablet much more compelling than having to spend 7 hours waiting on the larger iPad. Where I struggled the most was trying to type on this device, since mostly for your lap it'll have smaller keys than the larger iPad, so these are too small for typing for some, and then these are too large when it comes to trying to type on it with two hands, where devices like the Nexus 7, which are narrower than the iPad mini, will fit much better in your hand for doing this. And yes, you can definitely separate the keyboard, but the experience is sadly not the best with the keyboard separated. So, bottom line. Would I still recommend that you buy an iPad mini after a couple of weeks of use? The answer is kind of complicated. The larger iPad wasn't for work, and the iPad mini is even less for work for that matter. I'd say that the iPad mini is perfect for those who are carrying a large and heavy laptop everywhere, and wish to have a more intimate experience with the web or with a book once they're done. Or if you'd like to give an iPad to a child or a little brother and don't want to burn a hole in your pocket. For us power users, it's a good way to start, but I'll admit that I'm already waiting for the iPad 5 to adopt the iPad mini's design, or for the iPad mini 2, which will probably bring a Retina display. If you're currently rocking an iPad 3 or an iPad 4, there's really no reason to downgrade, and I'm being honest, this is a downgrade. And even for those that are buying their first iPad, I do recommend that you give this device a try first. It might be a good solution for many, but it definitely makes me want to wait for what Apple has next and really just skip this device for now. That's it for episode 12 of After the Buzz. Thanks for joining me. Be sure to share your experiences with the iPad mini in the comments down below, as well as subscribe to our YouTube channel and also follow us in your social network of choice. Give this video a thumbs up if you like what you saw. I'm Jaime Rivera. Thanks for watching.